is a new dashboard that ISC is creating for our Kea DHCP server and BIND9 DNS server. This is a canned demo of a system that's running behind a firewall at ISC to give you an early preview of the dashboard. You can see the version number here, 0.5. This is quite an early version of the interface. So first I'm going to log in using the time-honored admin credential. And luckily it looks like I got it right. Not very exciting when it works well, but let's take a look at the users. So I'm logged in right now as this user with the name of admin, and I'm in a group called super admin. At the moment, all of our authentication is local, so we just have a local database, and we have two levels of authorization for privileges, super admin and admin. The only difference between super admin and admin is the super admin can edit a user, can create and edit users. So I've created a user here for myself. I can change whatever I want about it. Change the password, whatever. I just changed the email address, so I can manage the users. We're planning on adding at least one other group, which is a read-only type of user. And farther down the line, when we start supporting configuration, we will probably add users that have access only to parts of the configuration or individual servers, some sort of scope limit like that. So now that we're logged in, the first thing to do is to add some machines. So right now there are no machines being monitored, so I need to add a few machines. You specify a machine based on a fully qualified domain name or an IP address. This is, here, let me start with bind. So this same monitoring tool will monitor both bind and Kea. So first, let's look at a BIND9 server. This was successful. Hopefully you can see the little pop-up saying that it has successfully added a machine. So what's happened is the Stork application has contacted a Stork agent running on the host that's also running bind. This agent has queried the machine and is reporting back a lot of information about the machine, including the version of the Stork agent, CPU, memory utilization, operating system, OS version, even the kernel architecture. The reason for having all of this platform information is that we want Stork to evolve into an effective troubleshooting tool for problems such as performance problems that require looking at platform information and application information in the same utility. So we've just started integrating bind into this, so there's not a lot to see here, but we'll look and see what details are available. So you have the version of bind, and you'll see it's running version 9.11.3 of bind, which is a fairly mature version. So we have not had to update the bind version at all in order to use it with this dashboard application. The only thing really, other than the uptime and the timestamp from the time it was last reloaded, that it's providing us right now is the number of zones. But you can see it is, in fact, talking to the bind agent. We have quite a bit more information available for our Kea servers. You can see we do have a little UI issue here with the crowding on the host name, but we'll be fixing that. So let me add a few more machines. And what I'm putting in here are the host names for some Docker images that we have set up. So this is the first Kea machine. It's a little bit alarming because it's got this red exclamation and it says no here. That looks a little concerning. You can see we have pretty much the same kind of information provided on the Kea server. When we link to the details, you can see a couple things right away. First of all, Dhcpv6 is a nice green check mark, as does the control agent. The Kea control agent is looking for DHCPv4, DHCPv6, and DDNS. And it's only finding a DHCPv4 server running. No v6 or DDNS server has been started. Therefore, it's showing an error here. We could perhaps improve the user interface for this because presumably if you're running a v4 server and you didn't plan to run a v6 server on that host, it's not really an error. We'd love some suggestions for what would be a better user interface for this. So here in the detailed display, you can see the Kea version. You see the different libraries it's linked with. In particular, you see the actual hooks libraries that are included here. We're running the least commands and the stat commands on this server. And we'll probably change this so that we show the name of the hook library rather than the path here. Down here, we would have a panel for high availability, but this machine is not configured for high availability, so at the moment what we see is an error. And over on the right, of course, you can see we have a list of all of the subnets that are configured on this machine and the pools. It is a little bit disappointing that we don't get to see this high availability information. So let's add a few more machines. So that was agent Kea 8. And this was successful. Let me add one more. So we've got two additional Dockers out there, HA1 and HA2. So we've added all of them now. If we look at the list of machines, we've got the BIND machine, we've got the first Kea machine we added, and we've got HA1 and HA2 here. We also can look at these just in a pane that's just for Kea that shows us just the DHCP servers. And easy to see here which two are the HA machines. So let's just click on one of the HA machines and see what you see for high availability. So down here in the HA panel, it displays that there is both a local and a remote server. So Kea high availability works as a pair. They're a pair of servers. And these are configured as primary and standby. Kea also supports load balancing pair. And you'd see a different role here. You would see, instead of primary standby, you'd see load balancing. But these two are in primary standby, and this server is in the role of primary. The remote is in standby. And so it also says that this is the server that's responding to the entire DHCP traffic. So we can actually go back and take a look at HA2. And we should see that this is in standby, and this is not serving any scopes. And the remote server, so the remote server from this, the other one, is serving all the DHCP traffic. Now, if we sat here and looked at this window for long enough, we would see the time. Here we go. It just updated here. So it is continuously polling to get that updated HA status. We added the high availability monitoring here in Stork because this was one of the top requests from our users, some way to monitor the HA status. I understand that people would like to see timestamps for the last time there was a failover event, and perhaps a link to logs that would provide more detail about that. We don't yet have an alarm manager or a log manager capability in Stork, but we will absolutely be looking at those use cases. So all of the machines that we're showing so far are, all of the DHCP machines are all DHCPv4. So let's just quickly add DHCPv6 server and see how that's different. So here is agent Kea 6. Let's take a look at the details. And this machine is not set up for high availability. So again, we have that high availability error. shows all the same platform information over here. On the right, you can see that these, of course, are IPv6 addresses and pools. So now, let's look at our list of Kea machines. One of the things I'd like to point out is that we're running different versions of Kea here. The first machine is 173. These others are running Kea 174. That's, I guess, the most interesting thing to see on this particular pane. Now, besides monitoring the high availability status, the other thing that people are most interested in being able to monitor is the pool utilization. So this is showing you a display of all the subnets that you have in your system. And for each subnet, we use subnet IDs in Kea. It shows you how many addresses are available, how many of those are assigned, and displays here the pools that are available, and if they're part of a shared network, that is listed here. If they're not part of a shared network, there's nothing there. Now, there's a second page, and the V6 are appearing on the second page here. You probably have noticed the colored highlighting here. This is to alert you to pool utilization status. So this particular pool has 50 addresses, all 50 are assigned, so the pool is completely exhausted, so that's highlighted in red. This pool here is partly utilized, so this pool is highlighted in green. You have 100 of 245 addresses assigned here, so it's 40% utilized. And it looks like we don't have any traffic yet on the IPv6 side. Now, our engineering team has created a traffic generator that I can use. This is not part of Kea. It's not part of the Stork dashboard. It's just an internal tool for the purposes of creating a demo. It's not perfect. It will actually only create traffic for one subnet in a shared network at the moment. Let me just get some of these going. Okay, so I've created some traffic. Let me go back to Stork. I wanted to show you that you also can filter on the subnets you're looking at. So let's say you filter to look at only the Dhcpv6 protocol, and that's all you get here. Same thing works, of course, for Dhcpv4. You also can filter based on subnet. So you can see we've got a lot of subnets here that start out 192. If I hit return at any point, it will filter based on what I have so far. It's a little bit hard to see that this is filtered, but at the bottom we're only seeing 7 subnets out of a total of 18 subnets in here. So let me just filter further. And so now I can just keep adding digits until I've filtered to my heart's content. Anyway, this is useful, especially if you have a lot of subnets. Let's see. I think this just goes back to the detail view for the machine. Yes, it does. Okay, so we've seen everything that you can see at the moment in terms of querying the machines and looking at the subnet utilization and looking at the high availability status. The other thing that we're doing with Stork is integrating with other popular open source tools, including Prometheus and Grafana. Prometheus is a time series data store for that we're using to store activity statistics from both BIND and Kea. And Grafana is a visualization tool, very popular visualization tool. So I'm showing right now a Grafana dashboard that we've created for BIND. We don't have a traffic simulator for BIND set up at the moment. So this is, these are some perhaps uninspiring graphs, but what we're planning to show is the CPU utilization, the memory utilization you see here, statistics on incoming queries and response types, DNSSEC status. The initial focus for Stork is going to be on BIND operating as a recursive resolver. This is so that we can address some troubleshooting use cases with cache hit rate, and perhaps as we enable changing configuration settings, allow you to tune some of the settings that impact the cache hit rate, look at the age of information in the cache, the size of information in the cache, and so on, the TTLs. So now let's see if we can take a look at, I don't want to save my changes, take a look at the dashboard that we've created for Kea. So as I mentioned, Grafana is very customizable. So one thing that you can do, the data is tagged, based on the server and service it's coming from in Prometheus, so you can change which machines you want to monitor. Let me just put it back to all so we get a little bit more data here to look at. You can also pick which subnets. Gets a lot less interesting if we have many fewer subnets. Don't seem to be finding. Let me just select all again. Okay, so the main things people are going to want to look at, they want to see evidence of activity, so all of the discover, offer, request packets, and with each of these displays, you can click on them to drill down, bring up a larger display. I'm not going to do that because, well, it's not going to be that exciting given the data that we have. But the things that we're looking at, including here, the DORA, the total number of addresses, the number of addresses assigned, subnet utilization, which is a very important thing to monitor. You can see it's reporting the utilization. This is one that was heavily used, subnet 14. You've got this one here is 94% utilized, 41% utilized. This utilization has, let me just pop into this. This utilization has increased. This is the traffic generator that I turned on. You can see it's chunking along here. If we wait a minute, it will update. So this obviously is artificial traffic. Real traffic would almost certainly not be quite so regular. Any kind of declines, and also tracking the reclaim addresses. And then we've got NACs up here. Here are the NACs. So that's Grafana. We didn't write Grafana. This is just a template that we've created. Many of you have asked for Grafana templates and Prometheus exporters for both Kea and BIND. And so we've decided to leverage those popular tools with Stork. So going back to Stork, the last thing I want to point out is that the whole project is being developed in the open. This is ISC's GitLab, so if you navigate to gitlab.isc.org and look through there at the open source projects, one of them you'll find is Stork, and this is looking at our GitLab. And you can see, for instance, if you look at the milestones, you'll see we're doing monthly releases. The one we're running here is the 0.5 release. And we've got other additional releases coming up. And then if you're curious about what we're working on, if you click in here, You can see the features that we're working on right now. These are the things that are unstarted. These are the things that are sort of partly done. And then these are the closed issues. And then if you go and look at an individual issue, you can, if you create an account on our GitLab, you're welcome to chime in here, add some additional comments or requests, add some new feature requests that you have. You also, of course, can download the software from here. It is still at a fairly early stage. We do have some instructions for how to build it. We have some beginning documentation up on Read the Docs, but if you look at the wiki pages, you'll find some documentation here. It tells you how to get the latest code. There are links to the installation instructions, and there are some documents that explain the overall design and the architecture of the product. I guess that's it for this demo. I hope that you will download Stork, give it a try, whether you are a Kea user or BIND user, and come over to gitlab.isc.org, create an account if you don't have one already, and participate in adding milestones, adding issues, commenting on issues, and give us your feedback about this tool, what you'd like to see it do. Any feedback you have, if you're able to use it, on what your assessment is of the tool. Thank you.